If you were to ask me what I thought the core design principle behind Musou games was, I would answer satisfaction. The Musou games, or Dynasty Warriors if you live in America or some other countries, are games all about satisfaction. The player is practically a god of war, and the game's entire purpose is to eliminate large amounts of enemies, cutting swaths through them with a variety of over-the-top moves. Now, regardless of the incredibly mixed critical and consumer reception, the Musou series, or again Dynasty Warriors, was incredibly popular, and I think it demonstrates that satisfaction itself can be enough to carry a game given sufficient variety. The unprecedented popularity of the Dynasty Warriors series led Koei to create a spin-off called Sengoku Musou, or Samurai Warriors if you live in America or some other countries. Samurai Warriors proved to be more popular than Dynasty Warriors in some ways and less popular than others, but it had its own set of mechanics in spite of the general design principles being similar. But above all else, Sengoku Musou, or again Samurai Warriors, was somewhat more ridiculous than Dynasty Warriors. Capcom took notice of this, and if you were ever to ask yourself how would one make a parody of Samurai Warriors, well, Sengoku Basara is the answer. Sengoku Basara, as the name implies, was a direct competitor and parody of Sengoku Musou, and Capcom wasn't afraid of sharing this information. If Sengoku Musou was over the top, then Sengoku Basara was over the top. The characterizations and special moves you could perform were so incredibly ridiculous. Not only did Sengoku Basara take the ridiculous romanticization of Sengoku Musou to its extreme, they added their own parodies of elements that weren't originally included in the Sengoku Musou series. The end result is exactly as crazy as intended and reeks of absolute abandon. And unlike Sengoku Musou, which tended to take its drama fairly seriously, with Sengoku Basara it felt as though you weren't really supposed to connect with the characters emotionally. They were such incredibly over-the-top caricatures that it was more about spectacle than anything else. But Sengoku Basara proved to be incredibly popular, and arguably more popular than its direct inspiration. What originally seemed to be intended as a one-off jab at the Musou series and their popularity turned into a respectable series in its own right, and it's well celebrated in Japan. Around the same time as Sengoku Basara's release, Capcom was doing fairly well in America as well, with other games such as Devil May Cry and Resident Evil. So they decided they should bring Sengoku Basara to the States, but directly capitalize on Devil May Cry's popularity. You may notice that the Devil King's font looks a little similar to Devil May Cry, and the back of the case in Devil King's promotional material was not shy about reminding you that yes, Capcom also developed a Devil May Cry. Devil Kings is one of the most infamous localization attempts in history. It turned Sengoku Basara into something even crazier than its original incarnation, which is saying something, and I think it's an absolute masterpiece as a result. I'm not being ironic either. The point of Sengoku Basara was to be crazy and over the top, and Devil Kings is even more over the top than Sengoku Basara and even crazier. I have very little complaints about the presentation. It is craziness distilled into video game form. But regardless of how you feel about the localization, we also received some massive game design changes which I think make the game objectively better and suit its purpose far more than the original Japanese release. These game design changes were actually so much better that Devil Kings became a popular import item in Japan. That's right, people in Japan imported Devil Kings because of the game design changes Capcom made. That's saying something, and there's a good reason. You see, Devil Kings introduced something that no hack and slash had done before and very few have done since. It introduced the primer system. Instead of having a normal set of alternate attacks that you might expect from a hack and slash, Devil Kings gave you an entire combo set for priming the enemy. And priming the enemies served several functions. It turns their health bars yellow, makes them more receptive to damage, increases your combo count much faster, and fills your fury meter, which you use to activate special moves. It's one of the most appropriately named mechanics in all of gaming, because you are priming the enemy for a massive combo where you get a huge amount of damage dealt, destroy enemies so quickly, and the satisfaction is just unparalleled. With regular Musou games, it's difficult to recommend earlier entries over later ones, but with Devil Kings they created something unique, and the satisfaction you get from priming enemies and then wiping them all out immediately after isn't something you can get anywhere else. And as was already said, the priming mechanic was a completely new addition to the localization. The Japanese version was missing the priming mechanic entirely. Instead of a priming mechanic, the character simply had a basic attack and a secondary special attack button. Not only did we get this new incredible, and again, ridiculously satisfying priming mechanic, but we received the normal special attacks from the Japanese version, simply making our version better in the gameplay department in nearly every conceivable way. In short, Devil Kings is just better than the original Sengoku Basara, and I can say this having played the original Sengoku Basara. It's just a better game experience. It's more satisfying, which is the entire point. Now, in addition to the localization and changes to the game mechanics, there were some minor concessions. Instead of the original Sengoku Basara, which had around 16 characters, I believe, Devil Kings only contains 12. But when you consider that they added new mechanics for each individual character present in Devil Kings, I think the sacrifice is well worth it. Basically, you're getting more mechanical depth, even if you're getting less characters. I think that it's an acceptable exchange, and owning every single Sengoku Basara piece of media currently available, I can say that Devil Kings is the best way to experience the original game. And against my better judgment, I'm going to be Let's Playing Devil Kings for you. Devil Kings is a simple game based around satisfaction, so it's not like there's a whole lot of depth and strategy involved, but I want to show you what's so special, crazy, and satisfying about this experience so you'll go out and buy it for yourself. I'm only going to be playing through one of the 12 storylines, that being the Devil Kings storyline, or Nobunaga Oda himself, right there on the cover, the big guy, the big freaky looking guy. It should give you a decent idea about what's so special and fun about the game, and you should probably think of this Let's Play more as an advertisement for one of my favorite game series than anything else. Because more people should know about Sengoku Basara and more people should buy the games. Seriously, any of them, they're fantastic. So now that you know exactly what you're getting into, we'll start the Let's Play proper next video, and I'm pretty excited for this one.